So greetings, I'm Carrie Lane, Director of Elementary Instruction. I'm located at the Family Resource Center on Duke Street, which is between Central Office and the CCHS and CMS complex. Welcome to our very first Real Talk. We are educators and parents who have children at different levels, elementary, middle, and high school. Some of our kids are doing blended learning and some doing remote. We want what is best for our children and all children, and each situation is as unique as each of our families. We're going to do introductions. I'll hand it over.
I'm Jim Duggar. I'm the ITRT at Sycamore Park. I've been in the county for 22 years now. I do have students at the high school at CCHS, Culpeper Middle School, and also at YAL. So I have a spread of all the elementary, secondary schools as well.
And I'm Karen Duggar, and yes, I am Jim Duggar's wife. So I don't really have to tell you much other than we've got those three kids all spread out, and it's making for some interesting time with this new reel that we have going on.
I'm Angie Fiskus. I'm the assistant principal at Sycamore Park, and I have three children that are also spread amongst the different levels. I have an elementary son, a daughter at the middle school, and a daughter who is in high school. This is my 20th year serving this Culpeper community.
Hi, I'm Fallon Grimsley. I'm at Sycamore Park. I'm the behavior specialist here, and I have kids at the elementary level and also the high school level.
Hi, I'm Maria Klump. I am the ESL teacher at Farmington Elementary School. I have three boys, one in Culpeper Middle, one at Farmington Elementary, and a pre-care, that's going to be very interesting as well. And this is my 20th year teaching.
I'm Brandy Marola. I'm the reading interventionist at Sycamore Park. Go Panthers. And I have one child here at Sycamore Park with me, and she'll be doing blended learning this year.
And I guess I should add that I am the ITRT at YAL Elementary, and this is year 20 for me in the county.
And I should have said this is my 25th year, and I'm also a Culpeper County High School graduate, and I have two daughters, middle and high school. So as you know, parents have the option of blended and remote. We've alluded to that. But what we know about this upcoming year is it's going to be different. It's different for the adults, and it's going to be different for the children. So it's important that we prepare them. Even though kindergarten won't really know if they weren't in preschool what it was like, it's still going to be changing, walking around in a mask and so forth. So we need to prepare, talk to them. So we have some tips, and both expert tips and then real talk from us.
Okay, expert tip, talk to your kids. Name fears to tame fears. And I think this is really important. I know in my household, we have lots of different personalities. So sometimes some of my kids are really comfortable with talking about their fears while others aren't. So I think it's important to kind of maybe do some probing questions and sharing some of your fears, obviously age appropriately. And, hearing that, and even if they're not comfy talking about it, I think sometimes hearing that it's okay to be worried, it's okay to, be fearful of certain things, but we're going to get through this together. Just listening and validating, their fears. And that goes into the second point of listening, validating, helping them problem solve. When I'm working with kids in school, but also at home, I like to have A/B plan. Okay, well, this could be a solution, but then also if that solution doesn't work, this could be a backup solution. And just really listening, even if we don't think it's a big worry, it's a real worry for them, and age appropriately, it's going to look different. My elementary school schooler, her problems are a lot different than my high schoolers, problems or worries, and just validating that. And sometimes I have to do that myself as a parent, reminding myself that, okay, my daughter's 7. So to her, this is like a real worry. And she may not be worrying about the bigger worries that I'm worrying about, but to her, these are her worries, and not, not swooping those under the rug per se, but really listening to her and validating her worries, and reminding them that they can, talk about anything. And in the high school level, I think it's important to remind them of, the severity of the situation that we're in, and that they need to take it seriously, but also not making them more fearful. So that's kind of, interesting. It's dilemma I have in my home, because my teenagers seem to think they're invincible, but then also, you know, you don't want them to be, you know, overly fearful either. So I think those are great tips. And then the real talk, captivate your audience, talk while in the car. I think this is a huge one for me. I have a lot of one-on-one time with each of my kids in the car. We spend a lot of time in the car, and sometimes even in households, it seems silly, but they may not be comfy talking about certain things in front of siblings, like, oh, you're scared of that. And then they kind of poke at each other or roast each other, as they call it. But making sure that they feel like they can talk, you know, and having that one-on-one time in the car. Anybody else have any experiences of talking in the car?
And I think it comes with that eye contact. Sometimes you're as a mom, you're driving and they're in the back seat. And you don't have to look face to face and have those conversations. And it's easier to have that conversation when you don't have to make that eye contact, that you can have it. And there's the distractibility of maybe being on the road, and there's other things there that they feel like we can have this conversation, but it's not as intense as sitting on the living room couch having a conversation.
I agree. I think it takes away the seriousness or the, oh, this is a, you know, mom talk or dad talk, or it's more light, but you can still have those important conversations. Anyone else? No? Okay. Time to talk, even when inconvenient. I think this is a huge one. I try to, and I started this a long time ago when my kids were really young, like checking in with them at night. I do this with my kids at school, check in, check out. I do it multiple times a day, and I don't, you know, make it a big deal, but just having those few minutes at different times. And ours happens to be bedtime, because it's a time when we're all at home. I just go into each of their rooms and, you know, ask about their favorite part of their day or anything happened that didn't bother you. And it's the same similar questions, but it's a good time to kind of work in some questions of, you know, things that are going on and making it relevant to, you know, going back to school, getting back in a routine, things like that. It's not always convenient to do it at night, and it might not work for every household. Some people might like to talk to their kids in the morning when they're getting them up, but trying to have a check-in time for each one of your kids, I feel like, is super important, even if it's inconvenient. And even if they find it inconvenient, you never know when it's going to be that night that they might say something. You're like, oh, this is the reason I do this. Thanks for reminding me. So anybody else have good check-in times with their kids?
I was about to say, my kids are usually at night as well. That's the first time that since they're in separate rooms, I could actually talk individually to one, and the other one's not arguing with him or butting in or anything. So that is convenient for us as well in our household.
Awesome.
I will chime in on that one. Ours is at night as well, and we kind of have a reflection time, and it's also your time. Just like it's important to start the day in a positive way, you want them to feel loved and kind of calm any fears or worries they may have before they're going to sleep, so they can rest and relax. And so that check-in time at night is kind of my little's time to just decompress from the day and kind of talk through anything that she may be thinking about, and just, you know, some hugs, snuggles, saying, okay, I love you. No matter what happens during the day, I love you. And we're going to get some rest, and we're going to try it all again tomorrow.
Yeah. Another thing I do a lot, and this just kind of reminded me, sometimes, I don't know if your kids do this, but sometimes even in work and at home, sometimes people or kids will be like, hey, they'll like drop something big in my lap at the most inconvenient time. And I always try to, even if we can't talk about it then, I always try to table it and say, okay, we're going to come back to it. And I give them a time when we're going to come back and talk to it. I hear you. We're going to talk about this. And this is when we're going to talk about it. So not only saying we'll talk about it later, but giving them a time frame. I know we can't always give them exact times, but I do feel like sometimes they say things at inconvenient times for a reason. But, you know, setting a time to table in it, but, you know, identifying when you're going to come back to it, I think is important too for parents. But
that was one of the best parenting tips I got from Sue Bridges, former principal at A.G. Richardson. As my kids are approaching teenage years, she said, sometimes they're going to want to tell you something you need to hear at the most inconvenient time. So take time then, or make sure you schedule it, but you're going to want to listen. And I found that to be very good advice. And then also learning how to read each of my girls, because they're very different, of knowing when, oh, okay, she regularly wants to talk. We're going to schedule this in and go quickly.
Yeah,
so
exactly. And the unspoken, I think, is another important. We all know our kids and we know when they're trying to say something, but they're not. And maybe the unspoken words, I think, is going to be very crucial with going back to school, to reading our kids and maybe the things they're not saying. Just keeping a closer eye on those things, I think, is important as well.
I think that's important, especially with the little ones, because I know sometimes my little one, she will act out, or she's a little more testy and not as cool as she normally would be. And that lets me know she's struggling with something. She's processing something, and just picking up on those cues, and then maybe finding that time for, okay, hey, let's go have some lunch together, or, let's hang out and watch a movie together. And it puts her in that frame of mind where she's more willing to talk about it. But I can tell when she has those signs, hey, she's struggling with something like being out for COVID. She has struggled not having friends because she's an only. And so she has struggled with that a lot. And I can tell sometimes when she's missing that, she needs that extra care. She needs that extra attention.
Exactly.
That's me. All right. Expert tip, get back in a routine. I cannot say this one enough. Kids thrive on routine. Even high school kids thrive on routine. They need to know what's coming next. If you're eating your meals at a certain time, or breakfast, I cannot say breakfast enough as a routine. I know a lot of our kids come and eat breakfast at school, but whatever it is, making sure that your morning looks similar each day, and they know what to expect next. If they're expected to put their outfit out for the day, and these are the 3 things you need to have done while mom is getting ready. I know that in our house we do that. Okay, I expect for you to get dressed and brush your teeth and put your shoes on by the time I have my coffee ready. So just making sure they understand what's expected. So there's not that extra stressor in the morning. Come on, let's go. Let's get out the door. Waking up. This one will be rough over the next week. Waking up, trying to make that a consistent time. And that goes right with bedtime. We have started putting my little one to bed a little earlier, but they will be resistant to that. And our remote kids, that will be something that you will struggle with, because putting them on a schedule, and especially on those 3 days for our blended kids where they would be at home, still keeping them on a schedule, having them do the same things at the same time each day, logging in at the same time for the same things each day. That is going to be very important moving forward for our kids to be productive in this environment. Physical activity. When they're at school, they may have more opportunity for that, but if they're remote or on those remote days, I put that into their schedule, because they need that time to step away from what they're doing, that break of time and that physical activity to get their body going. Real talk, family outings. No matter what your family environment looks like, kids need to feel that sense of community within your family. Taking the time to do something together that's fun, I think, is super important. And that makes your kid feel valued and also a part of your family. Not just it's the parents and the kids do whatever the parents say. If they're involved in that outing, it makes them feel a part of the family. And I feel like that's really important. And that's real talk from a parent. And getting outdoors. We live in one of the most beautiful places, and we're about to be in the most beautiful season. And getting them outdoors for some fresh air, especially on those remote days, on those, if you're remote learning or on those days when they're not at school, getting them into the outdoors, just getting that fresh air, I think is a super important aspect. And just, I think it's that break that they need to come back and then work on what they need to at school. And a family outing outdoors, even better.
Just a little real talk. First, we all know summer's the best season. Beyond that, mommy confession, that routine, the wake up time, I have not done well at that. And I know Monday is coming. And so we've talked about it and getting in the routine, but I haven't quite held them accountable for getting up at that time yet. We have a new puppy, so that's kind of helping to take care of it. But I know that one is coming. And then getting them, scheduling the routine, and then figuring out how to check in when they're home between my husband and I, and figuring that out just to build some accountability into that routine. But they have not been up and on the computer at 7:45, and that's going to come on Monday.
I agree with that one. And bedtime, we have been trying. It's a struggle. It is a struggle. My kid is still in I've been off from school for 5 months mode. And it has been hard to get back into a routine. I am hoping once school starts, she will feel that urgency of needing to rest for school. It has not yet hit. It is you are going to bed even if you're not asleep. You have to lay down and try situation right now.
I think one of the biggest things that I noticed at my house of being out of a routine with kids, and then knowing that at school they live in a routine. Everything is scheduled. At 8:30 we have breakfast, we have reading, we do this, and they are very structured by nature. And so this has really rocked a lot of our kids' worlds. And I can say for my own, it has. And so if you're a parent of a remote learner or even a blended learner, because they're going to be home that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, write it down. Find a way to communicate to them that, okay, we're going to get up in the morning. This is what time we're going to get up. We're going to have breakfast. This is what time we're going to work on the work that you have to work on. So it's very clear to them. They're hungry for that. They might give you a little bit of grief and act like that they don't want to know that, but they thrive in consistency. And that's what schools definitely give these kids, is that consistent routine. And so one of my biggest things as a parent, even myself, that I know that we have to do is lay it on the line every day. This is what we're doing. This is when we're going to do it. And it just really structures your kid's day, and it brings calm to them because they know what to expect. They know you expect them to have this work done by this time. In Brandy's house, her daughter has to have her shoes on by the time her coffee is done, but that's a clear expectation. So when you're at your house, set those expectations for learning. If it's in the evening, okay, we get through all of our work. We're going to go to the park tonight. We have, I call it the 2 Ps at our house. We can either go to the park or the playground. You pick, you let me know. But he knows at the end of the day, we're either going to the park or the playground, and he has the power to pick that. And again, it's that predictability. So I just encourage parents to make their homes predictable during this time.
Also, it's not going to be perfect. It's a process. Some days will be a train wreck. It will feel chaotic, but then the more that you're getting into it, the better it will get. But it's going to be imperfect at first. And as parents, forgive yourself for that. We are human, just trying to figure it out.
On our household, it's funny because I feel like I'm playing tag team with my husband because I have a middle schooler and an elementary and a 4-year-old. So the middle schooler is like, why do I have to go to bed when they go to bed? And, I'm older and all these things. And I was like, school starting for all of us. I know you start at 7:45 and you start at 9 o'clock and I have to take Lucas to school. But we're all going to get up at the same time. We're all expected to do everything at the same time. Even if you start differently, you can read a book or watch a little bit of TV before your class starts, or, do something else, make your bed. They know they have to make their bed. They know they have to brush your teeth. They help with breakfast in the morning. So I feel like I'm helping them try to go to bed at night. In the morning, my husband works from home. So that's why they're doing virtual learning. I'll be at the door. Bye, honey. Love you. Good luck. So he'll be doing that with them in the morning while I'm over here. So it's going to be very interesting, but it's nerve-wracking, but exciting as well. So we're trying to be positive so the kids feel like, okay, they're being positive. It's going to be fine.
When I think back to the spring, and I think the accountability now, because the way remote learning, whether you're doing all remote or blended remote days, is going to look different than it did in the spring, because the accountability is going to come from the school. So that will help me as a parent. But I also learned back in the spring, I went all educator on my kids. Like, all right, we're going to do this activity. And my husband even found Carrie Ling Principle and put it on the dining room table where I was working. And they're like, can we go to the superintendent and replace the principal? Like, this is not working, Dad. Your activities are too elementary. And so as we're preparing for this, I was like, all right, this fall we're going to do field trips. We'll go tubing, we'll pick peaches and apples, and we'll make this. They don't like it. Like, they don't want me a part of any of that. They want school to be school and mom to be mom. So my accountability is going to be, all right, if check in with your work, this is the schedule. If it's not complete, it's Saturday, Sunday school with mom, which is not the way I envisioned it, because this is a great opportunity for me to put some education skills to use with my own kids. They just don't want to hear it. So that routine and accountability, I think, coming from the school will help. So it's not all coming from the parent. I'm muted. Next slide. Are we ready or any? All right.
Okay, this is my slide here with remote learning success, the role of a student and family. So on the left-hand side there, we're talking about the student role. So if you have internet access, you're going to log in. I know that yesterday, as I was helping parents with questions, one of the things that I did talk to them about is that, you know, we're expecting students to check in with their Google Classroom or their Canvas account every day. So there should be assignments in there. If a student cannot check in at a certain time, you know, we don't expect students to necessarily be on the computer from 8:15 in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because we all know that's unrealistic. I was talking to a teacher today that was mentioning things like, you know, when she's in a class, she has 20 students. And with those 20 students, it might take her an hour or an hour and a half to do lessons so that she can make sure that, you know, those students are doing what she needs to do, because she's, you know, managing 20 on, you know, in a normal situation. You know, when you're at home and you're one-on-one with your student, you know, with your child, that is unrealistic that it might take an hour and a half. You know, you're giving you're giving your undivided attention to them, and it might only take a half an hour to complete an assignment, not necessarily an hour and a half for them to do, you know, a few math problems or to learn a skill. So, you know, we do expect them to, you know, log in every day to see what it is. If you're a working family and you can't get to it till 6 o'clock, you know, I was talking to a gentleman in the office a couple weeks ago, and he was very concerned because, you know, he likes to check his kids' work before they would turn it in, and he would work until 6 o'clock at night. And in his situation, he was very concerned that they would have to be on the computer with him not there. And, you know, as virtual learners, that, you know, I was telling him that, you know, that's not necessarily what we expected. We expected them to log in and do the things that they needed to do. And he was very pleased with the fact that the student would not have to turn in the assignment until he got home from work and was able to look it over to make sure it was done correctly or to help. And then, you know, maybe turn it in at 7 o'clock that night. So that flexibility, because, you know, not every family is the same, and not every family will necessarily be at home, you know, to help their kids at the same time. You know, teachers may have meetings at 10 o'clock in the morning where they can remote on with a Google Meet and see their classmates and to do some activities. But if the student can't make that, you know, the teacher, you know, may record it and post it later so that the kids can do those activities and still feel a part of that class. So, you know, just that flexibility for students and families, you know, as well as they're doing this thing. Because, you know, as I'm looking through the different topics here, I'm talking about, you know, it is an adjustment for all of us. It's an adjustment for teachers, it's an adjustment for students, and it's an adjustment for families and employers as well. You know, so those things are, you know, very important that we, you know, that we realize that this is new to everybody, and adjusting and getting this instruction and being held accountable and doing activities. You know, I know here at Sycamore Park, you know, walking through some of the rooms, the thought that some of the teachers are having about this, like, how can I record this? How can I help this student? How can I interact with them? You know, how am I going to do this with kindergarten? But they're thinking through these new things, and, you know, and trying to find the best ways to communicate and give students the the education and then the learning that we all want them to have. I've also said if teachers and families, if you have questions, make sure you call the schools. If there are problems with your Chromebook, there's a number to call. Even if you're like, I don't know what the numbers are, call the school and we'll make sure you get transferred to the right people, whether it's a software and learning more about Google Classroom with some of the workshops and stuff we're talking about doing, or if your screen doesn't come on and you can't get it to charge right, that's why we have those numbers. That we're here to help with that. So that the communication, the line of communication needs to be open with that. Also, under wellness in both the family role and the student role, you want to make sure that you schedule your assignments for the week. You kind of, like I said, you check in every day to see what activities are there. I talked a little bit about the breaks. It's okay that you might not get something done right away, and it's frustrating. You'll want to walk away for a while and then come back and perhaps take a look at it a second time. Or maybe, with the high school students, you wait till your parents get home from work. Or, I know that they have, texting and Snapchat and all sorts of things, asking friends for help if they're in your classes, and asking your friends what's working well for them or what they're struggling with as well, so that you can figure it out together. I know that as someone who has an older, a high schooler, a senior this year, when they were going through some of the things, with the beginning of the remote learning back in the spring, they were getting on FaceTime and chatting each other through different difficulties and problems, or they were working together to try to complete an assignment. And that was my middle schooler. She was trying to talk to people to, help her, in real time, because her teacher was busy, or, with some teachers teaching blended and working with kids during the day, they might not be able to get to the questions right away. So finding alternate sources of help, your parents, a friend, trying to learn the different skills that you may be having some difficulty with. So those sorts of things. Does anybody have anything they want to chime in with those as well? No, I got it pretty well. All right.
All right, I'm going to talk you through the changes, blended and remote. So we have definitely totally changed what education looks like, and we are going to figure this out together. So there are some systems that have been put into place. One of them is masks. I mean, it's a world that we live in, and I can tell you the last 2 days being at Sycamore Park, we have about 700 students here. All but 43 came through our doors, and everybody had masks. Kids wore them. They came through the building. Everybody was very, courteous and respectful about it. Kids had them on. And one of the things that our mitigation plan talks about is when you're up, your mask is up. It's pretty much how it is. And so when our students are seated and the teachers are doing instruction and our classrooms are physically distanced 6 feet, kids can take their mask down. They're not going to live in that world of a mask all the time. But when they're up, their mask is up in the hallway, whenever they're moving about. And I was very pleased, and I think our staff took a lot of comfort having the community back in our buildings the last 2 days with our students, that people definitely have a good grasp on masks and what that looks like. I will say that Culpeper has modified their mitigation plan to talk about masks. So if you have the net gaiters that came up over, that is no longer an approved mask due to scientific data, that just the particles and the way that it all is, and we won't get into that, but just know that if that's what your child has, we will give them a different mask when they get here. If you've already bought it, and we completely understand and respect that, we will provide one when they get here. If it has one of the respirators in it, that's another one. Scarves and bandanas, just for scientific reasons, we would switch those out when they get here. Please don't stress about going to the store this weekend and getting something different. We've got you covered for Monday morning. But I definitely want to make sure that you are aware of that minor change. When we're thinking about our remote learners, we have a lot of them. And even our kids that are coming blended, they're still going to be home Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so when you're thinking about creating that space, create a space where your child can learn. And that's going to look different for all of our families. Your home, what style your child learns best at. If they have a space, whatever it looks like is what you need to do to make sure that they're successful. All the schools passed out physical materials the last 2 days. So you would have gotten workbooks that they're going to be required to use, whether they're in the blended model or the remote model at home. They have Chromebooks, they have chargers. So make sure that their materials are available. So when they sit down to have that meeting with their teacher, that they are prepared, that they have what they need. There's a school supply list out there. Not only do our blended kids who are coming here need supplies, but so do our remote learners. They're going to need to be able to do some tasks that require maybe some crayons or some scissors. Some sort of activities will require physical materials that you'll need to make sure that your child has. If the computer stops working, we gave you a Chromebook yesterday, and sometimes technology can be finicky. Culpeper Schools has a whole tech department that's going to help take care of your needs. There's a phone number you'll call. If you speak Spanish, they're going to transfer you to someone that speaks Spanish. I mean, we are very family friendly here in Culpeper, and we want to do whatever we can to support you in the remote model or the blended model. Real talk, what's it look like when you're at your house? Your workspaces, you decide what that looks like. Some kids are definitely getting into this remote, they want a desk, they want to set it up like a little office space. Whatever it is to make them feel successful and make it feel special is super important. If they have earbuds, if the rest of your family doesn't want to hear third grade math, give them a set of earbuds. You don't have to listen to it. Just to give them that privacy of like, this is my time, this is what I'm doing. And remember that they're potentially streaming into the classroom. So any activity that goes on in your home around that camera would potentially be seen. I think about the anchor that the kids are coming in the room and the wife's coming to get in. It's quite a comedic scene, but just be aware of your child and them participating in class. You're going to hear synchronous learning, and for the people that aren't in the education world, you really don't know what that means. Synchronous is it's happening in the moment. The teacher's in the classroom teaching, it's live teaching. Asynchronous is where it's been recorded and then you're going to watch it. So some of that teaching and remote learning is going to happen in that format. And then make those routines. I know I talked about it earlier, but no matter what kind of learning your child is going to participate in, set a routine, set some expectations, and know that teachers are going to reach out. Teachers are going to contact you. They're going to find out, are you the parent that's working during the day and you're going to mostly do some videos? Are you the parent that's home and wants to have your child log in during the day? Give us some grace and some time to figure those things out, and our teachers time to prepare when people are going to interact and when they're not. We're going to be very, like I said, very family friendly, but it's going to take us a week or two to figure out how to meet the needs of our families. And that's important to us. We want to make sure that all of our students find success, and success might not be at 9 a.m. in the morning, and we're expecting that, but it might be. So please just give us some grace. There's going to be assignments. Kids are going to have to turn things in. School is going to happen, and if it happens at home, there are expectations. But the teachers, I'm confident, are going to have those conversations with your family. And make this special. I hope that even if you're a remote learner, you're home and you snap that first day of school picture. Like, it might be in their jammies and you can post it to social media and we'll all get a good giggle out of it. But make this moment special. Your kids are going to pick up on whatever vibes you have. It's either going to be great or it's going to be awful. But as a parent, you get to set the tone for your kid. You get to make that decision on how this goes. And I hope that you pitch it as the best idea, and we're going to live with it. And we're excited. I'm excited to come back and have students in this building. I'm excited that we've provided families the flexibility to meet their needs for whatever reason it might be. But make this first day and make school continue to be a special moment. And one last thing before I move off of the blended remote, there's expectations and there's reality. So the expectations of what we all expect school to look like. School is different. Our reality is different. So when expectations and reality don't line up, we get disappointment. And I don't want you to be disappointed. I want you to really think about what learning might look like and how it's going to be different. Our reality of what we left March the 12th is very different than what we're going to open August 24th. We have a new reality. So the expectations you might have had for school, they have to change a little bit. And we're all going to change together, but just recognize that our reality is very different than what our prior school experiences were. Anybody else?
I was just going to jump in on that. When we're identifying our kids' fears and they're telling us about their worries or even their disappointments, I think it's important to listen to that, but also follow it with positives. Like, identifying some positives. Like even when you're redirecting your kids, you redirect them, but then you're also trying to catch back up with, filling their buckets and things like that. So although we are going to have disappointments and we are going to have lots of challenges to, overcome, there's still good to be found. And shining in on that good, I think it's going to be so important for not only our households, but our kids and our community and our schools, just keeping the positive, because they will feed off of our positive. And, there's always good to be found, and helping our kids find that, I think, is just going to make everything happier.
Agreed, Fallon. That was really good. And also, I know for first day, my little one still loves to pick out her outfit. She is planning that day. And so be a part of that. Be a part of helping them be excited and getting ready for that moment. And I can tell you, in the interventionist role, I don't have a classroom of kids in front of me, but I can tell you there's not one teacher that I have talked to that does not want to do right by every student on their roster, whether that is face-to-face a couple of days a week or remote. We want to make sure your kids get what they need. So communicate. I can't say that enough. We want to make sure that our kids have what they need and that they're able to be successful. And sometimes that takes a lot of communication with their teacher, and we're going to be doing that more than ever.
I have a ninth grader, so starting high school this year. So we've tried to celebrate that in different ways. But as a parent, her English teacher called me, was calling all parents, and that connection and knowing that the school was there was very powerful, whether it comes through an email or how it comes. And then I this year, and I think Mrs. Fiskus said this well, the first day is going to look different. For some of our blended kids, that first day will be remote. And so in our minds, we think really Monday and Thursday are kind of going to be 2 first days. But there's still, even if you're on a B schedule, Thursday, Friday, that first day can be your new outfit in front of the computer. And then you have the other new first day on that Thursday. All right, I will forward this.
Okay, so expert tip, communicate with the school. I think as a parent, I feel like I was talking to a lot of parents yesterday. It was hard sometimes to communicate with teachers because they would never see the teacher, but they're actually able to see the teacher on the computer sometimes and say, hi, I'm the mom. And I think they have a lot more communication through email, through Google Chat. So I feel like parents might have a little bit more communication than they did ever before. Like they said, if you have any questions, call the school. We have phone numbers at different areas. Email the teacher, Google chat the teacher. My son, his teacher today, she's like, I just installed the Google Chat. Let me know if it works. Do you mind calling your son and having him chat with me in the morning for a bit? So I called him and he's emailing, he's like all excited. And I said, I'm calling him, just type hello. He goes, no, I want to write a whole sentence. And I was like, okay. So he actually wanted to write a whole sentence for her. And then she came in and she's like, it's working. I got it. So I was excited. He seemed excited. She was excited. So it's a learning curve for everybody. It's not going to be perfect. It was never perfect. It's going to be so much. As a teacher as well, I always told my parents, they're your kids at birth, but in education, in my classroom, this is a teamwork. It's going to be you and me because I'm his teacher, you're his teacher. We're both. That's why it's very important to work together as a team. Like we always say, it takes a village. It's going to take more than a village this year for the kids. Call the help desk. And if they don't speak Spanish, you could call the Family Resource Center and ask for someone there, and then they will try to help. I've had to call transportation because they don't speak Spanish. So, I'm calling transportation. I'm like, can you try to get a bus for this one? So we're trying our best to do everything. Parents are, teachers, staff, everybody's trying to do our best because it is different. it is very different. It is nerve-wracking, but at the same time, we have to be positive because it will eat us up alive. We have to be positive. And we'll get through this like we get through everything else. But just I feel as a parent, I know people are here for me. If I have a question, if I have a need, I feel like it's going to be fine because you're not in it alone. I'm never going to be in it alone. So pretty much it. Any comments?
I mean, one of the other things that parents can do, is just to keep up with the announcements that the school does have. So, for example, I'm pretty sure all the schools have a Facebook page. So if you're on Facebook, I know that Mrs. Fiskus and I try to keep Sycamore Park up to date with the stuff on our web pages and Facebook, whether it was picking up Chromebooks or whether it's an announcement about something, we do make the robocalls and that's a good way to get to people as well. But I know that, sometimes that becomes overwhelming with, kids at 3 schools. I'm getting a middle school call, a high school call, and an elementary call from where I work and from where my kids go to school, elementary. So I'm getting 4 different things. But if I'm on Facebook, that, is a little different. There's a quick announcement that I can read through real fast and that sort of thing. So following social media and that sort of stuff to see good things that are happening at our schools, because we will update it with those sorts of things, but also any information we might need to get out to people for them to share as well. Just a different way that we as a school and as a district are trying to communicate to parents as well. So I think it's also a good way that communication can happen with that.
And as maybe the only person not on Facebook in this group, I'll plug Twitter as well. And I also enjoy the emails that instead of the robocalls that come through email that I can catch up later. But you all make a great point, and we've said it to the school board meeting, and we stand behind it. And then hearing you all say it, we need to partner more with our families than ever this year, just because of the 2 different models. And for I won't talk too much about this, but our younger students, we know that the caregivers, whether it's mom, dad, and aunt, the babysitter, they're going to be the facilitator of the learning and partner with the teacher because it's very different for a 5-year-old to log on. We know that they're going to need someone to facilitate that, but that doesn't make the parent or the caregiver the teacher. That we will help work through that. So thank you. And all right.
This is me. And this is me because I've been doing this since before a pandemic, because I am the mother of 3 girls. And so I definitely have been figuring out ways to take care of myself. So balancing work, parenting, and distance learning. Self-care is not selfish. Like Fallon said a few slides ago, your attitude as a parent is going to make or break this situation. If you're negative about it, they're going to be negative. They're going to be upset. If you're positive about it, if you can find something to be excited about, even when it's the worst day possible, if you can be positive, it's going to rub off on your kids and they'll be positive too. So intentionally schedule time for yourself so that you can be positive. Find the time when you can. You might be an early morning person. I'm not. Jim knows that. But I am a person that really enjoys that time after at least the youngest is in bed, because the middle schooler and the high schooler probably stay up later than I do. I don't know. But I like that time after they've gone to bed to watch my corny shows that Jim refers to all as Hallmark movies. They're not, but I do enjoy that time after bed, at least for my youngest, so that I can just sit and decompress. If you're a morning person, make it in the morning. Talk to your friends. We're all in this boat together. I mean, most of my friends, actually, their kids are doing all remote. So I'm kind of on the island by myself doing the blended part, but we're all in some sort of boat together. Talk to your friends. I know that book clubs are great. Virtual meets with your friends, Zooming and hanging out with them. Just schedule that time for yourselves, because it's going to be so important to keep your morale up and to keep the positivity going with you. Just find time, take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to take care of your kids, and you're not going to be able to balance your job, parenting, and distance learning. I know in March, I struggled to stop worrying about my staff and the students. And I didn't make enough time for my own kids. And I saw that. And that's something that I really need to work on this go round, is making sure that I schedule time not only for self-help for me, but for my own children and for our family's needs before, worrying about everybody else. Like I need to just say, I'm not going to answer emails for an hour, and I'm going to worry about the things that I need to get done, whether it's for me or for my girls. So just be cognizant of all of that, and it's okay to take care of you. That's it.
Well said. So today is Friday afternoon. School starts Monday, and these wonderful participants gave us this time today for this purpose. So I want to thank you, and I want to let everyone know that hopefully this will be the first of more Real Talk CCPS staff with different representation throughout the division. There are upcoming parent Google Meets. The first one, Tuesday, August 25th, that will be tips and strategies for virtual learning engagement for elementary students. So that is posted. Kim Bledsoe, the number and email if parents want to sign up for that. And then we have a lot of information on our return to learning plan that I wanted to just call to the attention of family and community members. You all were amazing. Thank you. Are there any parting words, anything we missed? Any positives, Angie Fiskus?
I'm just going to say, be safe and be positive.
And I just want to say that I can promise you our buildings are filled with people who are thrilled to be back doing what they were made to do. They are excited. They are anxious to get back in these classrooms and work with your students, whether it's remote or blended. They want to get it right, and they know that you have to be part of it as well. So good luck. We are all in this together. If you ever need anything, just call us, and that's for whatever building you're at. Every building wants to support you in this process.